Hello everyone. So in the last video we solved the question number 15, that is not boring movies. So in this video we are going to solve next question, that is average selling price. So first let's understand the question. So in this question we are given two tables, that is price table and the unit sold. So the price table has columns product ID, start date, end date and prices. So where the product ID is the ID of the product and start date and end date shows the price of that same product between these two dates. So it is written each of this table indicate the price of the product ID in the period from start date to end date. For each product ID, there will be no two overlapping period. That means there will be no intersecting period for the same product ID. And it is also given that these three columns together will make the primary key. So it means that the combination of these three product ID, start date and end date will never be same in the table. They are unique. And the next table is the unit sold table. This table may contain duplicate rows. Each row of this table indicate the date, unit and product ID of the each product sold. So this is the product ID and this product is purchased on this date, and on that date this number of units were purchased. So now what question is asking is that to find a solution to find the average selling price of each product as average price, and the average price should be rounded to two decimal places. If the product does not have any sold units, its average selling price is assumed to be 0. Now we can return the result in any order. So the first thing is we have to find for each product the average selling price. And by seeing these two tables and this line, that if a product does not have any sold units, its average selling price is 0, which means that the unit sold may not have a product with product ID that exists in this table if that product is not purchased, which means this table contain all the products and this table contain only those products that were purchased. Okay, so for each product we have to find the average selling price. So first let's write the query and then we'll understand it alongside. So first let's select everything. Select star from prices P and units sold U. Okay, so the first question is, should we use the join or something else? It totally like the question is giving us a hint that if the product does not have any sold units, its average selling price is assumed to be 0. This spells as or gives us hint that should we use this join or some other joins. Okay, first let me write a condition, then you might get a hint, further hint, that should we use this join or not. So we join these two tables. The where condition is that the product ID in this table should be equal to the product ID in this table, because we have to find the price of this product ID in this table, prices table. So the product ID in the both the table should be same. So product ID in P table is equal to product ID in the units sold table. Okay. So this is the result we got. Now think once, like if there is a product with the product ID 1 in this table, and if that product doesn't exist in the units table because it is not purchased, obviously, that's why it doesn't exist in the units table, then will our table, that this result set, have something like some entries or not? Obviously it won't, because the condition will fail. The condition was the product ID in the P table should be equal to product ID in the units table. But if there is no product in the unit sold table, then this condition will fail and we don't have any entry in the result set. So we shouldn't be using the simple join. Instead, what should we be using is left join, because we want every product in the prices table. So we'll use left join, and there will be condition, and that condition will be this. Okay. So now if there is, let's say there is a product with the product ID 1, and if that product doesn't exist on this table, then at least we have left table with the product ID of 1 until here, and the second table, that is this table, will have null here. So here it will be null, null, and null. Okay, let's simulate this test cases, and these are the units solved. So let me remove these two entries and run this. So you see, we have full information from the left table, but since the right table doesn't have that same product, we got null here, which means no units of 1 is sold. That's why we have null values here. Okay, now the next condition is this product is sold on this date, and these are the number of units that were sold. We have to find the price. We have product ID here equal to the product ID here. Good. And this was the purchase date. This was the price of this product between these dates, but this was purchased on these dates. Now, if this date lies between these dates, then this was the price and these are the number of units sold. But is this purchase units lies between this? If it doesn't, then we don't need these entries. We need only those entries where the purchase date lies between start date and end date. So next condition will be that and u dot purchase date between p dot start date and p dot end date. So now you see we are left with only 4 entries. Okay, so this was the product 2. It was purchased on 2019 0 to 10, which lies between these dates, and between these dates the price of the product 2 was 15. Okay, and 200 units were sold. Then the same product 2 has a price of 30 between these dates, and the product ID is again same, and it is purchased on this date which lies between these two dates, that is started and end date, and 30 units were sold. Now what we have to select, this is the result table input, and the output has product ID and the average price. So we have to select product ID from the first table, because second table may not have the product ID. Product first table has product ID, but second table may not have. Okay, before that, since we have to calculate the average price of product, so for this product and for this second product has 2 entries, we have to combine these two into single. For that we have to group these. So group by what? Product ID, and product ID of first table, because second table may not have the product ID. Product ID. So after joining, we'll get these two entries merged together. Now when these two entries merged, we want to select product ID and rounding the result to 2 decimal places. This is the result. So the result will be sum of all the price multiply units. Price come from the first table, this one, and units come from the second table, this one. We divide this by sum of total units. So for this, what we'll be having is price 15 into units 200. Price price 30, units will be 30. So we'll have 15 into 200 plus 30 into 30 divide by sum of units. Sum of units will be 230. Okay, so this will be our solution, but there is a minute problem here. The thing is, price come from the first table, which will never be null, but units come from the second table, which can be null. So null cannot be multiplied by something, so obviously we have to select between two values, either null or 0, and for that we have an operator or a function, that is LES call is, so we'll select units if there is no units. If it is null, then we'll select 0. Similarly here, but there is again a problem. This can be anything, doesn't matter if it is 0, 1 or 2. But if this is 0, anything divided by 0 is a problem. So this is our result. Okay, we'll turn this result into using this function, which will again give us 0 if the division is null, because if we divide this result by 0 we'll get null, and if it is null we'll give 0. So let's check if this query works fine for this test case or not. Okay, so we got the result as true, that is first is 0 and 16.96. The thing is that we have to select the average column as average price. Okay, so we'll select it as average price. Okay, so we got the correct result. Now let's try to submit this. Okay, so our solution got accepted.